Good evening. Welcome back to Fat Guy in a Little Garage. I got something kind of cool here. Customer at my day job calls me up and asks me if I'd be interested in buying his Cadillac CTS that his son has been driving back and forth to college. I told him, I was like, well, I might be interested in it. And I said, what are you looking to get out of it? And when he told me what he was looking to get out of it, I said, yep, I'll take it. Now, I already am familiar with this car because I, for the last 3 or 4 years, have been servicing this car for him. As a matter of fact, about a week before he called me to sell it to me, he had it in the shop and went through it and looked at the brakes and changed the oil in it and serviced it a little bit, and then now he's decided he wants to get rid of it. His son graduated college, and I guess they're buying him a new car, so congratulations to him. So now we own it. So the plan here is to go through the car, clean it up real good, make sure that it's safe, make sure that it's reliable, make sure that it is sellable, and make sure that it is presentable. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean the car really well, detail it inside and out, fix a few little scratches and scrapes and bumps and bruises in it. Got a little rust bubble in the right rear quarter panel that I'd like to at least try to fix. And I know the car's got a bad alternator. I towed it here because it just wasn't going to drive here. I have an alternator for it over here, so we're going to change that as well. The battery tested good, so we're not going to have to worry about that. But it's a pretty neat little car. What we got, 2007 Cadillac CTS. It is base model. Got 158,000 miles on it. It needs a little bit of love on the interior. The seats are really dirty, and it needs a good cleaning. But everything in the car works. The windows work, the air conditioner works, the radio, CD player, all the gauges work. It does have a check engine light on, but I'm positive that's because the alternator is bad and not charging the battery. So one of the things about this car that I don't like all that much is how foggy the headlights are. That is an easy enough fix. It's got some paint chips in it. Got a couple of little whiskey dents and hooeys in it. Right back here, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this in the dark, but got a little bit of rust back here. Just starting to bubble through. See if we can get that fixed up. So it's got a 2.8 liter V6 in it. One of the cool things about these Cadillac CTSs, well, something I think is cool anyway, these cars are rear wheel drive. But they're the size of a Chevy Malibu. Now, as far as I'm concerned, being rear-wheel drive is a plus. Not too many of them out there anymore. Let's get chilly. It is dirty. Now, the battery, according to the sticker on the back side of it, said that it was made in April of 23. And right down there is that bad alternator that we need to get going. So we're going to take care of that first. Get this thing where it'll charge the battery. And then we'll start fooling around trying to get all the rest of the other things fixed and cleaned up on it. Let's get after it. Okay. Let's get some of this plastic out of the way here. Just set that over there for the time being. Get a little bit of light on the subject here. Well, it doesn't look too terrible in here. All the hoses and this car didn't sit, so I'm not worried about, mouse intrusions or anything like that. So We got, let's see, one, there's two, maybe three bolts that hold that alternator to the side of the engine block. One on the bottom is going to be kind of a bear to get to, but it is what it is. So, looks like 14, 15 millimeter bolts there, half-inch drive provision on the belt tensioner, and we got to disconnect the battery, so I need an 8 millimeter for that. 13, 14, 15, and first things first. This battery disconnected so we don't end up curling my hair. Or burning the whole rig down. We don't want to do that either. All right, get that tucked out of the way there. Okay. The belt tensioner is going to come this way. There's a halfway decent view. And you just pull the tension off that spring-loaded tensioner and slip the belt right off the alternator, just like that. Got one bolt out there now. And of course, a steel bolt into an aluminum head. I'm not gonna just walk out for me like I'd hoped. That'd be too easy to make way too much sense, wouldn't it? You want to be careful not to do that. Dummy. There we go. It'll be fine. Alright. There is our alternator. I don't know whose alternator it is, but that looks like a Napa part number. Listen to this. Bearings are just shot in this thing. All right. Here is our new unit. That is not a Napa alternator on there, but it is identical in shape, pulley size, and connectors. So this is the one. Go ahead and get this bad boy rassled back in here. You know, I think at one time this car must have had a leak in the power steering or transmission cooler lines, because that upper cooler line is new, and that's where that oil and dirt and grime is kind of centrally located there. So thinking this car is not leaking, it's just old dirt and grime and goop from a leak that was repaired some time back, and they just didn't bother to clean it. So, well, I'm going to follow suit, and I'm not going to clean it yet either. I'm going to get this alternator put in here, and we'll work around it once we get everything put back together and get the car running right. Let's get this sucker rassled back in here. There we go. All right. Now what I'm going to do make these bolts thread into that aluminum head just a little bit better. So I'm going to put some brake parts lubricant on them. Keep the threads from galling and make them a whole bunch easier going back in. Just give them threads a nice little coating of that purple stuff. Hope if I put the right bolt back in there. You reckon? I reckon. There we go. That's the right bolt. That's the stuff. Now I gotta get down in here before I can get this thing cradled and stable enough. Get this bolt started. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and walk that in a little bit further. I'm not going to tighten it yet until I get the other two bolts started and threaded a good distance, a good ways in. You don't want to tighten this all the way up just yet, because I promise you the holes won't be lined up on the bottom and you just be fighting yourself. Run that in just a little ways there. She's touching, but she's not so snug that it won't move. Alright, and this front bolt here is a short one. Get down in there, get her started. There we go. Go. Get that grease all over my fingertips now. New alternator is installed. I just got to get these couple of electrical connectors put back on. The air intake hose. I'm not going to worry about that plastic engine cover yet, because I'm going to go through and I'm going to thoroughly clean this engine and fender wells and firewall and all that, and get it all nice and cleaned up. Okay, let's finish putting this thing back together so we can hear it run. Alright, let's fire this thing up and see what happens. Fire in the hole. I said fire in the hole. Okay. Not making that grinding noise anymore. It's charging 14 volts. There's one small victory for the project. Alright. thought it was going to be. All right, well, I think I'm going to call it a night. I've been after it since about 5:30 this morning, and I am shot. So we're going to close this up for the evening, and we will resume activities at another time. I plan on this car taking me 2, 3, maybe 4 days to finish and get cleaned up and presentable, and decide what I'm going to do with it after that. So this is probably going to be a little bit longer video, but hopefully we'll make it entertaining for you. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, good morning. Taking a minute here to sweep up the shop and get some of the dirt out of here. Got the Cadillac pulled out. It was a little groggy cranking over this morning, so I put a battery charger on it. Gonna let it set and charge up for a little bit before we get too deep into it. But today is the day we're going to take and clean this thing up and see if we can bring the seats around a little bit and work on maybe some touch-up paint and get some of the nicks and scratches cleaned up and try to make this thing presentable. Get it vacuumed out, polished up. Not sure how it's going to turn out, but we won't know until we get cracking on it, huh? All right. This thing opened up a little bit here and show you around. It's not horrible shape. It's just dusty and dirty. Really got a bunch of crud built up down in here. Car's covered in dust. The interior ain't too shabby. I don't think it's going to take much to clean up most of this. Headliner. Yeah, it's got a little dirt on it, but it'll clean up. These front seats here are the ones that I'm a little bit more concerned about. The leather just isn't in the best of shape. I don't know how well that's going to clean up, but we're going to go after it with some cleaner and see if we can at least make them look a little bit better than they do. They're pretty cracked up, but we just have to dig into it and see what we got. Dash is in real nice shape on it. Steering wheel's not all tore up. I don't think this car's going to look too bad when I get finished up with it. The battery charger on it, because the battery was a little weak this morning cranking over. If it needs to be replaced, I'll replace it, but just need to jazz her up a little bit. Get rid of some of this old dirt and grime that's on it from never being cleaned up. You see here where I started, just a little test spot on that headlight. See if I could get those to clean up. And I think they're going to come right back around for us. So, just got to get everything set up. The pressure washer broke out, get some soap mixed up. I don't think this is going to be a bad project at all. Just a little time consuming. All right. Nothing to it but to do it. My neighbor stopped by and chatted for a couple of minutes. So while we were talking, I got a little bit of a head start on this, but we're going to try and get these headlights polished up here. So just doing a little test run here to see whether or not they're going to come back to me. So far, not so bad. You see that grayish sludge coming off of there. That's that oxidation that builds up on these plastic headlights. It wipes off pretty easy when you got the right stuff. What these are little wet sanding pads. There's 2 of them, side 1, side 2, 3, and 4 of graduating grits on the paper. Start off a little bit more coarse, work your way up to, I believe it's 1500 or 2000 grit. The important thing is to make sure that you keep it wet. It comes with this lubricating solution that probably isn't much better than just using regular water, which would work fine, but it comes in the kit, so we'll use it. I'll get these sanded down a little bit here, and then we'll do a side-by-side, left to right comparison. See what kind of a difference we made here. Yeah, that's already made quite a difference. That's only the third stage. Still got 2 more to go. We'll wet her down again. We'll go to the 4th stage and see what they look like. I might have to go over them a couple of times to get them to the level that I want, but I can see that this is definitely making a pretty big difference. Not too shabby. Probably should have done this in the shade so this wasn't drying up so fast, but oh well. Let's see what that looks like. Not too bad at all. Let's take a look and see what she looks like from left to right. There's one we just did. And there's the one we got to do. Oh, I'm not mad at that. I am going to go over it one more time through all the steps and see if I can get it just a little bit better. But that looks 1,000 times better. So I'm going to finish this up, go over it one more time with all the steps, see if I can get it cleaned up a little bit better, and then we'll resume. All right, got that all finished up. What an incredible difference. That is night and day. You can see all the way through that now. The yellow haze is gone. This one here is before. I'll take it. I think I'm going to take a little break for a while. It's getting, oh, what time is it? It's 11:30. Sun's getting a little intense. And I don't have a heck of a lot of shade out here in the driveway. And I really don't want to wash a black car in direct sunlight. So I'm going to give it a rest for a little while and I'll come back to it in a few hours. Good morning. Welcome to day 3 of what I'm now going to call the cursed Cadillac. I spent all day yesterday washing, vacuuming, scrubbing, and polishing this thing, and I lost a lot of my footage. Not sure exactly how it happened, but I'm still going to try to salvage something from this and try to post a video. So bear with me. Hopefully it'll still be good. But right now I've got a few touch-up things I've got to do to it. It's got dust all over it from sitting overnight, and I didn't get the windows cleaned. So you get to watch me wash windows and dust this Cadillac this morning. So sit tight. Handy dandy roll of paper towels here. There's a lot of them here. My favorite is the windshield. Old fat guys can't reach down to the bottom as easily as we used to moons and moons ago. But got to be done. There is a haze on this windshield. I don't know if this kid smoked cigarettes or not, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that he did. Of course, now everybody vapes, but you know, I don't know if vaping leaves a film in the windows like cigarette smoke does, but they are grody. Well, I tell you what, this sprayway stuff is some good stuff. I always hated cleaning windows back in the day with Windex because it was just so hard to get it to evaporate and dry up without leaving streaks. This stuff here works pretty good. And it doesn't take a heck of a lot of this stuff to go a long ways either. Just a little spritz. That foam spreads out pretty nicely. Good stuff. That's what I'm trying to say. Good stuff. I can see. And my second favorite one. Oh, this one's going to be really fun with the headrests in the way. I wonder if these will come off. No. They won't come off with the window on it. So we have to wrestle around trying to clean this windshield with these big headrests in the way. Kudos to Cadillac for thinking about the rear seat passengers for comfort, though. You know, a place to rest your head when you're chilling in the back seat. That's pretty good. I'm not going to complain too much about that. I don't know what that is. All right. Good enough. This has been a pretty decent project, except for the fact that I lost all of a bunch of my video from yesterday. The car cleaned up pretty decent. The two front seats, there's no saving those. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with those. I looked online last night and I could not find seat covers that will fit these seats with the seat belts built into the backrest. Probably find myself with no options. What is that? But to maybe, I don't know, either leave it alone or see if I can get incredibly lucky and find a pair of decent seats for a Cadillac CTS in a junkyard. And I have a feeling that finding good leather seats that have been sitting in a junkyard for any length of time just going to be easy. Probably all over the place, right? These windows are just nasty on the inside. This is probably why I didn't do it last night. I was wore out and I just didn't want to. There we go. Like I said, good enough for who it's for. And right now it's for me, so it's good enough. Yeesh. Let's try that again. Much better. Now I'll be able to see behind me too. Okay, let's get this thing out in the sunlight and see if the wash, wax, and polish job I did on it actually did something. All right. Not too shabby. Got a hell of a lot more gloss than it had. I decided not to monkey with that rust bubble in the rear quarter panel. It's just too much to get involved with what I have planned for this car. Somebody else deems it worthy of that kind of work, more power to them. But I'll take it. Brought back a lot of shine. I just got to go around it with some quick detailer and wipe the dust off of it. I'll go around and do the tires one more time just to make sure that they're nice and greasy. You know, considering I spent all day on it yesterday, I'd like to think it looks a lot better. Look at the gloss in that paint. Couldn't have said that yesterday. All right, let's give this little girl a wipe down here. Get the dust off of it. That's impressive. I don't know if the video is going to show just how dramatic the difference is, but this car really came back to life. Okay, we got it all wiped down. It looks pretty good. I'll take it. There's a few little spots I'm still going to touch up a little bit, but I'm not going to worry too much about getting crazy with it. There was one other thing that I found on this car that I really wasn't all that impressed with. And that was the trim ring that goes around the shifter. It was like a brown wood grain. Nothing in this car is wood grain. And it just looked absolutely out of place and terrible. I hated it. I kept looking at it and I just couldn't stand it. So I took it upon myself to fix just that. Take a look at this. Get it out here in the sunlight. Painted it with some of that Rust-Oleum hammered paint as a primer to give it some texture. Now I'm going to paint it satin black to match the colors of the inside of this car. I don't know what GM was thinking when they decided, hey, let's put a wood grain trim ringer on the shifter column in a car that's absolutely nothing but black and gray plastic. So we're going to fix that. Okay, got the trim ring out here. Got it set up on top of my my paint booth. And give this thing a shot of some Krylon satin black. Let's see how she turns out. Test spritz there. And I'm just going to dust it the first time. Get you in here. Just going to dust it. I'm going to let that sit for a couple minutes and come back to it and put another coat on it. All right, let that sit and dry out for a little bit. See what it turns out like. And here, trim ring is all done. Got that nice hammered texture to it. It's not that stupid wood grain. That's going to look fantastic in there. Let's get it installed, shall we? One little thing that I've decided that I just don't like about this car is this dull silver grille. I don't like the way it looks. I just hate it. So I think it needs to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this satin black to give it a little bit of an accent away from that gloss black on here, but yet tone it down a little bit so that it doesn't stick out so loud. I just think it just screams out of there, and I don't like the way it looks. I never did. If it were the body color or even any other color of silver, it would probably strike me a little bit better, but I just don't like the way this looks. Plus, it's got this big paint chip in it, and, you know, got some nicks in it from bugs and road debris, whatever. So I'm going to mask this off, and I'm going to paint this and see if I can make it look a little bit better. I can't possibly make it look any worse. So let's see what happens. Let's get cracking. First thing, this rubber flappy thingy here, got to take that off. So let's see what we're up against here. And should just, yeah, it just peels right out of there. I'm going to set that off to the side. I'm going to go after this with a little bit of glass cleaner. Get some of the grime and dirt off of it here. I don't know why that's dirty considering I washed the car yesterday, but I must not have got underneath the little flappy thing. Now, I'm not trying to make this thing a show car. I'm just trying to make it presentable. And I hate this grill. And I take the thing completely off the car, but it's got rivets all along the bottom of it here that hold it to the bumper cover. And I just don't have the energy, ambition, or desire to take the front bumper cover off of this car for this project. So I'm going to go through the arduous task of masking off the bumper cover and this chrome Cadillac emblem here. Let's see what we can do about making this thing just a smidge more presentable and, I don't know, dare I say, a little different than the next guy's Cadillac CTS. And I'm going to use a piece of 400 grit here. And I'm going to start on this spot right here, feathering out the edge of this paint chip, just to knock the edges of it down a little bit so it doesn't show quite so much. Now, I'm not using gloss paint on this, so it's not going to stick out all that well anyway, but if I can hide it a little bit better, then the end result will just be that much better. But then I'm going to take this piece and rough up this paint a little bit so that the new paint's got something to stick to. Even though I probably should, I'm not going to bother priming it. Get that to a point where I can live with it. That's pretty good. The edges are gone. The tiny low spot right there, but I don't think it's going to show through that satin paint all that well. So I think I'm just going to let that ride. So just rough this up a little bit. Give this new paint something to stick to. I don't get too crazy with it. I think a lot of what I'm taking off here is oxidation. Get around these little teeth here. Yeah, before I go sanding down the edges of this, I'm going to go ahead and get this masked off. I should have done that in the first place. But I ain't a paint and body guy, so I don't know these things. And if you know these things, why didn't you say something? Just like to watch a guy struggle. Tucked in there like so. Should probably hunt down some newspaper to keep me from getting overspray all over everything. Just got to look good from 30 feet, right? Knew an old timer years ago. Said, I don't even remember what it was that we were talking about, but he pipes up and says, "Yep, looks good from my house." Indeed it does. Once this car is gone, it will look absolutely beautiful from my house. Cut a slit in that so it'll lay down a little better. And cut it with the dullest pocket knife on the planet, because that's the best way to do it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these little rivets out of here. I'm going to lift that grill up just a little bit, and I'm going to lay something underneath it to mask off the engine compartment, and then I don't have to lay a bunch of tape across the top of it there that I don't think is going to be necessary. I'm going to go one more strip wide on all of this. Tape's a lot cheaper than spending the day cleaning up overspray. I don't know about you, but I sure hope this turns out decent. I'm kind of excited, to be honest with you. All right, get back to sanding this thing so that I can get to it. Just want to rough it up a bit. I'm not going to get too crazy. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. That looks nice. That'll work. Tell you what, this cheap Harbor Freight sandpaper is some good stuff. Well, good for what I need it for. I don't know if it would be any good for somebody who actually does this for a living or does it on a regular basis, but I've not had any trouble with it. And I've used it on a couple of projects. All right, I'm going to get those rivets popped out of there and get that lifted up a little bit so that I can get something underneath it to keep from having to mask off the radiator support and all that. So give me a minute. Yeah. Contractor bag works just as good as any masking paper or plastic, right? No, going to today. A little bit of glass cleaner on this paper towel. And wipe down some of this dust before I attempt to mask off this Caddy emblem here, which I am confident is going to not be fun. But got to be done because it's got to be chrome. As much fun as it would have been to let you watch me cuss and scream my way through masking this off, I decided against it. I ended up just taking the wreath off of here. I was able to get the emblem itself masked off pretty well, but that wreath being as thin as it is, and there being paint color inside of here, I decided that it would be easier to remove the ring, and then I'll just put some new two-sided tape on it and reinstall it when we're done. This paint that I'm using is Krylon Color Max. It says it prevents rust for metal, plastic, wood, and more. Well, we're going to find out if it's good for Cadillacs. Let's take a look here. Do a little inconspicuous spot here to see if it's going to fish eye on me or do anything stupid. Not too shabby. I'm going to let that set up for a couple of minutes, see what the paint does as it dries. I don't want to blast this whole thing and then have it turn yucky on me. So I'm going to let this test spot set for a few minutes and see what it does, and we'll come back after it in just a few minutes. Okay, I'm not mad at the way that turned out, so let's get after it. I went over this with a little bit of flat paint just to kind of prime it. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. So let's see what this turns out like. Give it a couple of lighter coats. Let it tack up in between. And hopefully I didn't just take to destroying the integrity or the resale value of this car. But nevertheless, I hated that dull silver grill. And I don't think I can do anything to make it look any worse than it did. You know, let that set for a couple of minutes. Throw another coat or two on it. No, I kind of dig it. I am not mad at that. Boy, that's going to look fantastic once that masking tape is off and the hood's closed. Oh yeah, much, 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 much better. Now this, boys and girls, is what a Cadillac grill should look like. Not overly shiny like the body is. Some nice gloss to it. And it just isn't that ugly silver. That turned out fantastic. One thing I've not done was given this car a proper test drive. So let's get this out of the way. Turn that fan down a good long ways. The air conditioner will blow your hair off in this thing. All right, let's go for a spin. My neighbor taking her pooch for a little morning stroll. Hi, neighbor. Oh, this car is as smooth as glass. Brakes are a touch noisy first couple times you step on them. The car's been sitting for a little while, so there's a little rust built up on the rotors. Plus the car spent half the day yesterday being soaking wet. And it wants me to put my seatbelt on. And we're not going to do that. What an absolute dream to drive. This car is smooth as silk. Again, one of the things I like most about these cars is the fact that they're rear-wheel drive. Kind of like some old school class with a little bit of new school functionality. Let's open her up, see what she's worth. And 70 miles an hour, that's not so bad. I think that's fast enough for today. Don't see any smoke out the tailpipe, nothing in the mirrors. Okay, you guys, I think that's going to do it for the Cursed Cadillac project. I actually had a lot of fun doing this one. It kind of stinks that I lost some footage, but I think the end result turned out pretty good. Again, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do with this car, but I'm going to take it back to work and post it up for sale. If for whatever reason you think you might be interested in owning this car, let me know. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to watch, and I would sure appreciate a like and subscribe, and throw some comments down there if you got something to say. You won't hurt my feelings much. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.